Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to question number 11. So you have 20 questions. I know it's very difficult. I gotta check my time. Okay, so we have to graph and solve the system of inequalities, right? So this is very easy. We already know how to do all of this, okay? So we have our x-axis and we have our y-axis, right? So you just start with the 2. That is the y-intercept. So you go up 1, oops, 1, 2. So here's my first point. And then my slope is 1 over 2. So you go up 1 to the right 2, up 1 to the right 2. There you go. And then look, do you see this line right here? Well, that means this is going to be a solid line, okay? So you just connect those 2 dots, draw a solid line, okay? And then just look at this side. Where the y is, the corner is small, the other side is wide. So that means y is equal to or less than. So let me just write this down for you. Less than, okay? Equal to or less than. That means you're going to shade the bottom part. Equal to or less than, okay? So now let's take a look at the second equation. You start with the -3. So there you go, 0, 1, 2, 3. So here's my first point. Then your slope is -2. -2 over 1, that means you go down 2 to the right 1. So down 2 to the right 1. Now I have to connect it, but you see how over here there's no line at the bottom? So we have to make it dotted. So just do your best job to make sure it's straight and not crooked like mine. And then what you're going to do next is you look over here, oh, is less than again, right? So then we're going to shade the bottom part again. So then what is your answer? That would be the overlapping area right here, okay? So where you have both the red and the green, right? So only right here in between the black line and the green line. So then obviously please make sure you remember to give me 3 points. That is obviously the answer. So you're going to give me points, I don't know, let me just guess, -3, comma, -7, -1, comma, -5, and then, I don't know, -4, comma, -2. Something like that, okay? So then, in order for you to see the accurate answer, I've actually graphed it in decimals for you. So obviously you can see that your answer is going to be right here, where they overlap. So you can just go ahead and pick any point here. Just give me 3 points, and that would be the correct answer. Okay, so for example, over here it would be 0, 1, 2, 3. So that would be -3, comma, and then you have to go down 1, -1. This point will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So -4, comma, and then this number is -3. Then this one would be 0 all the way to -6. So -6, comma, and then you have to go down by -3, right? So just give me 3 points, okay? And make sure, you graph it accurately. All right? Okay. Now let's move on to the next question. Question number 12. It says solve this right here. So whenever you have a question like that, I want you to first try the X method, and if that doesn't work, then I want you to move on to the quadratic formula, the song, okay? So let me go ahead and try it, okay? So I need to put the big X, the 3 times 24. So A times C goes on top, and then B goes at the bottom. So this is A, this is C, this is B. So 3 times -24 is -3, 3, 4, 12, -72, and B at the bottom, C, is going to be -6. Now you're looking for 2 numbers over here. This is where your answers go, right? 2 numbers that you can multiply to get AC and add to get B, okay? So there you go. I'm gonna have to start with a table. 1 times 72 is 72, 2 times 36. I just go in order, like 1, 2, 3, 4, like that, all right? So 3 times what is going to give me 72? 24. And 4 times what is going to give me 72? Let's see, 4 times 1 is 4, and then 8, right? And then 5 doesn't go into 72. What about 6? 6 goes into 72 12 times. 7 doesn't go in there. What about 8? Yes, 8 times 9 is 72. And after that, I don't have to go any further because from this point on, I know it's going to be 9 times 8, 12 times 6, so on and so forth, right? So now, this is what we had to multiply, but when we add, we're supposed to get a negative 6. So what numbers can we add to get negative 6? Now, don't forget, when we multiplied, we got a negative, which means one side of these numbers have to be negative, right? Add to get 6. It would have to be 6 and 12, right? So where would my negative go? Obviously, where the 12 is. So what is my answer? My answer is 6 and negative 12, because 6 times negative 12 is negative 72, and 6 plus negative 12 is negative 6. What do I do next? I need my fraction bars. And remember over here, what you gotta do is you put the A on top. And then at the bottom, you have to put your answer, the two answers that you just found here. So what is my A? 3. So I'm going to put my 3 on top, and then I'm going to put my two answers, 6 and negative 12, down here. Okay, so I hope you can see what I'm doing, like over here. So then next thing you want to do, you want to go ahead and put the x over here so you know that this is the x. Simplify. So this becomes 1 and 2 because I can divide top and bottom by 3. And over here I can divide top and bottom by 3 and I'll get 1 and negative 4, right? So it's the same as 1x plus 2. And then over here is x minus 4. Because it says solve, that means we have to make sure that this equation is set to 0. Okay, what that means is that that can equal 0 or the other thing can equal 0. Okay, so there you go. X plus 2. Ooh, I shouldn't have put the parentheses. So you can say x plus 2 equals 0 or x minus 4 equals 0. Okay, so if you subtract 2 from both sides, you'll get x equals negative 2. Or if you add 4 to both sides, you'll get x equals 4. So your answer is negative 2 or 4. And that's how you write your answer, just like this. I'm going to put a rectangle around it, okay? So it's not that difficult, okay? So let's just move on. Question number 13. Ooh, in class, I was telling you how for the multiple choice test, you don't have to worry about the vertex, but for the written portion, you have to. So let's take a look, all right? To find the vertex, first you have to find the axis of symmetry. So let's maybe write down the step. First, find the axis of symmetry. So what's the formula for that? X equals negative b over 2a. All right, so we all know what ABC is. A is 3, B is negative 18, and C is 7. So X equals negative, and then B was another negative 18. And then 2 times, and A is 3. So then that gives me X equals 2 negatives make a positive, so 18 over 3 times 2 is 6, which gives me 3. So that's my axis of symmetry. Basically what that means is, you know how my graph is going to look like this? Well, this line that goes through right here is going to be right where x equals 3 is, okay? So when I draw my graph, this is going to be where, and then this is going to be 7. And so, you know, the axis of symmetry is going to be right where 3 is right here. Okay, but we want to find our vertex, okay? So to find our vertex, we need to know what our y value is, this value right here. In order for us to find that, we got to plug the 3 into the x, okay? So that would be our second step. I'm just going to go ahead and draw some crooked lines over here. My second step is to plug in x equals 3 into the equation. And that's how you find your vertex, okay? So there you go. Let's just do it. I'm going to use blue because it looks better. F of 3 equals 3 times 3 squared minus 18 times 3 plus 7. So what is that? we all know how to plug numbers in. 3 times 3 is 9. Always do this first. PEMDAS, okay? Exponents first and then multiplication. So 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. Negative 18 times 3 is negative 54 plus 7. So f of 3 equals 27 plus 7 is 34 minus 54. So f of 3 equals negative 20. So guess what your vertex is? Yes, your answer is going to be 3 comma negative 20. So now I realize I drew my graph wrong, right? Because I didn't know what my vertex was. So if I were to redraw my graph, it's going to look like this. This is going to be 3, and then like somewhere like this is going to be 7. That's my y-intercept. And then this is my axis of symmetry. But my vertex is at like 3 comma negative 20. Negative 20 should be something like around here. So here's my vertex, and my graph is going to be like a really skinny one that goes like that. Okay? So anyhow, that is how you find the vertex. Let's move on to number 14. This is a really fun one, okay? In order to simplify, you know you cannot have i's at the bottom, right? So what are you going to do? You're going to multiply by the conjugate of the denominator. So if you have 3 plus I, you're going to multiply by 3 minus I. Same thing on top, because you're going to have to multiply by a 1, right? So 3 minus I over 3 minus I is going to be a 1. So there you go. Let's go ahead and work on this. So you just have to distribute, multiply like this, like that, and then like this, and like that, right? So 16 times 3 is 48. 16 times negative I is negative 16i. 2i times 3 is 6i. 2i times negative I is negative 2i squared. Same thing to the bottom. 3 times 3, 3 times negative I times 3, I times negative I. Okay, so 3 times 3 is 9, 3 times negative I is negative 3i, I times 3 is positive 3i, and I times negative I is negative I squared. So then let's go ahead and simplify this. We all know that I squared is a negative 1. So negative 2 times negative 1 is positive 2. 2 plus 48 is 50. Negative 16i plus 6i is negative 10i. Down here, the negative 3i and the 3i just canceled out. Let me use a different color so you can see. So I squared, we already know, is a negative 1. So negative times a negative 1 is positive 1. So 9 plus 1 is 10. You know that we're not done, right? So what we have to do is we have to separate it. That's the easiest way, okay? I told you in class, oh, let's do the heart, okay? This side of my heart and that side of my heart. But if that's too hard for you, just separate it. So you can just be like, let's do 50 over 10 first, and then minus 10i over 10. So then now it's easy. This is 5, and this is minus I. And that would be your answer for number 14. Okay, I'm going to do the rest of the questions in the next video. All right, well, thank you so much. Happy learning.